Hello everyone, Namaste. I'm Prajwal and I'm super excited to share my recent trip to Everest Base Camp. I'll be sharing pictures, videos, and tips and tricks that will be useful for folks who want to visit Everest Base Camp. I took a flight from Kathmandu to Lukla Tenzing Hilari Airport, located at 9,483 feet elevation. This airport is spectacular, located between pristine mountains, but the landing was dramatic because the runway is very short and is uphill. At the airport, I collected my bags and I met my guide, Mr. Prakash Karki, who helped me throughout the trek. At the entrance of the national park, I paid a fee of $60 for the national park entry and Khumbu rural municipality entrance fee. On day 1, we had a 9.8-mile hike from Lukla to all the way to Jorsalli, and we visited and traveled through a number of small villages along Dudkesu River. At the end of day 1, we reached at Jorsalli and we rested at a lodge called Hotel Panorama. It was situated at the bank of Dudkosi River, and there were beautiful waterfall on both sides of the mountain, and you can see suspension bridge and snow-covered mountain on the horizon. On day 2, we started from Jorsalli through Namche and we ended the day on Diboche. We started our hike early in the morning, leaving Jorsalli, crossing a number of suspension bridges over the Dudkosi River. The climb towards Namche began slowly and we took time drinking water, resting often, enjoying the view across the river and snow-covered mountains. It was very exciting to see the famous Hilari Bridge, which was located at the beginning of the uphill climb before reaching to Namche Bazaar. And the top dana was the culmination of the height, and it was very relaxing to get there because the uphill climb was over after that time. You can see a number of porters and trekkers relaxing at the top dana. Here comes Namche Bazaar, the Sherpa capital. You can see the beautiful view of Kongde Peak. I stopped for lunch at Namche Bazaar. The village was lively with bakeries, shops, colorful houses built in the mountain slope. Then I climbed to the viewpoint above army camp where there was Tenzing Norgay statue and 360 view of entire Everest range in the background. Then I continued toward Kinjuma and Sansa. Amadablam mountain dominated the skyline. It looked close enough to touch. We also passed through Lausasa and descended to Funjitenga.
High Mountain Bakery Cafe, Amadablam viewpoint. It's already go. Everest.
Then we reached to Tengboche after the famous 2-hour Tengboche climb. I walked into the open space in front of Tengboche monastery surrounded by mountains on all sides.
Everest sunset in the
From there, it was short downhill walk to Diboche. Our night stay there was at Hotel Riverbend. We left Diboche early to start our ambitious day 3. From Diboche to Panboche to Amadablam base camp and back to Panboche.
हजुर हजुर पुरै नि त उकाल चढेको फिलै भएको छैन हजुरलाई यो हिमालकै पार हो कि बा भन्ने लागिरहेछ मलाई पनि
Arriving at the Amadablam base camp was unforgettable. The peak looked massive and with its hanging glacier shining in the sun, it felt like standing below a giant.
And this place also is almost 6,100 meters. Thamsergu is 6,600 meter Thamsergu, and on the left you see some Kangtega mountain. It's almost 6,300 meters. And you see the southern mountains over there. One is called Malang.
There I heard tragic news from Sherpas. A helicopter had recovered the bodies of two Ahmedabad climbers, one from Korea and one from France. And hearing this so close to the mountain was a very reminder of how risky the high Himalayas can be. The trail to Ahmedabad climbed steadily across open meadows. Yak caravans moved slowly ahead of me, bells ringing gently. As I gained height, the wind got colder and sharper. After spending time at the base camp, I returned to Panboche's Sri Deva Hotel for the night. Dinner was warm noodle soup. On day 4, we started from Panboche to Sumare to Dingboche, and we also gained some elevation. It had already started snowing from the early morning, so we couldn't see anything along the way other than the snow. My guide Prakash told me that we could have seen Mokhalu, Choyu, Ahmedabad, and the entire Imja Valley along the way. We found that the network was not working as much. Ncell stopped working after Namche, and NTC works slightly better above Namche, but the connection was very weak. An Everest link is available in most lodges for a fee. And the snowfall continued throughout the day, and we couldn't see much other than yak along the way, some other hikers, and porters. In the evening, the sky got somewhat clear and we decided to go for the acclimatization hike up Nagarjun Peak. The trail went straight uphill and I took slow, steady step, but it was scary. From the top, however, the views were stunning. Mokalu, Choyoyu, Amadavlam and the entire Imza Valley below me.
Bingboje टाउनको नाइट भ्यू आमालालको काखमा लोप्से नोप्से पनि उतापट्टि आइल्यान्ड पिक हैन
While resting at the hotel, family at Dingboche, Sherpas shared more tragic news.
छेउको डाँडा
One more hiker had recently died and his bodies were flown out by helicopter to Lukla. The reality of high altitude and harsh mountain conditions felt very real. It was still snowing on day 5. However, we started our hike from Dingboche towards Lobuche to Gorakshep, which is the last lodging place before the Everest base camp.
Lopuche, 4,900 meter elevation. And भर्खरै यसमा लन्च गरेको होटल मेरो अर्थ.
When we reached to Diboche, we heard the news that there was a helicopter accident in nearby helipad. And when we got there, we still saw the helicopter covered with red tarp, and the pilot was recently rescued. He was alive, but he was injured when recently rescued.
त्यसपछि यो चाहिँ लोपुचे टाउन भयो. लोपुचे पिक माथि गयो.
We were able to continue our final stretch to Gorakshep, which is a small settlement on sandy, rocky land beside the Khumbu Glacier. On day 6 and 7, snowfall covered everything. I stayed inside the lodge, resting, hydrating, and waiting for the weather to clear. 2 full days passed in silence, surrounded by white mountains, hidden behind clouds. On day 8, the weather started to clear. I finally started the walk towards Everest base camp. The trail followed the edge of Khumbu Glacier, rocky, icy, and always changing. Reaching Everest base camp felt emotional. Standing at the base of Mount Everest was a dream come true.
सामान है ये सामान छोड़ अरे वाह
While I was enjoying my stay at the base camp, my guide told me that 2 Israeli hikers had suffered altitude sickness at Dingboche and had to return. It reminded me to stay careful and move slowly. Later in the evening, I attempted the climb to Kala Pathar for sunset view of Mount Everest.
चाहिँ नुप्से
The climb was steep, but the view was worth everything. Everest was glowing gold,
बुझि जान्छ
Lhotse sharp behind it, and Nupse giant in front of it, and the giant Khumbu glacier right below it. I returned to Gorakshep tired but grateful. On the snow-covered trail, I began the long descent on day 9 from Gorakshep to Lobuje and then toward Tukla.
कति दिन गयो
9 दिनको अब आज उता कि भोलि आज
I took the trail to Feriche, a wide, windy valley shaped by ancient glacier. Along the trail, we also saw Himalayan tahr. They look like goat, but they have very short tail and small head, bigger body than typical goat. Then finally, I reached the Tengboche for the night stay. On day 10, I began the long descent, enjoying the view of the mountain and sunrise along the way. The mighty Amadablam continued to stood tall along the entire trail. After climbing short hill to Kingzuma, I reached Namche Bazar again, the colorful Sherpa town I had passed earlier. After lunch, I continued the final long walk back to Lukla from Namche Bazar. I also saw a bird called Dafe, Nepalese national bird, Himalayan monal, along the way as well. 10 days in Khumbu had shown me beauty, challenge, spirituality, and the importance of safety at high altitude. My trek has officially ended, and I thank my family, Vista Trek, and my guide Prakash for the opportunity, and I thank you all for watching.